sometimes it's like we want to work with those people because we feel like more validated. Oh yeah, I'm a good strength coach because I work with a pro athlete. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of coaches who work with pro level athletes who probably aren't. I mean, I, I don't. Those athletes are going to be elite no matter who works with them. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
like even the coach in some respects. Like a lot of those people, the way their mind works, they are going to win. Like it's just
Yeah.
they're wired to be successful, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
very common to in sports performance to take credit for the individuals who did so well, and then but what then the people don't do well. I'm not going to take credit for that. It's like in the marketing perspective of it, it's just like it's very rampant to do that. And I will say I know individuals who are amazing physical preparation coaches who I do believe have a good impact, a good strong impact on the individuals they train. But I just think it's very easy to take credit for something that you know you don't know how much you necessarily did. Anyways,
Of
that's all I
course,
said. There's an
we're a
affinity.
piece of
It's
the
there.
puzzle, man. We're
Yeah,
a piece of the puzzle. I mean,
yeah,
as a strength and conditioning coach, I'm working for pro fighters. I'm working alongside their striking coaches. Boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, blah blah, nutritionists. Managers. I'm one piece of the puzzle. So, I totally understand exactly where you're coming from, man. And it is very difficult to quantify how much you contribute to your athletes.
yeah.
But the good athletes, they have the right team around them. They pick the right people and they put them in the right positions. And most even individual sports, man, there's a lot of team mentality, there's a lot of team components to it. Again, having the right people in the right positions to then guide that athlete.
Yeah, and I think especially on that level, from my understanding, it's as much, if not more, of who you are than the exact specs of your training battery.
Yes.
Your how that you make that individual feel is probably the number one thing that matters in that relationship. And you know, your training, and I say this too because I'm a type of person who takes a lot of I'm processing through this, but I get a lot of validation personally, or I think I prop myself up on being not quote air quote knowledgeable and knowing different training modalities. And I find that you can present yourself as that to an individual, but that an athlete, but that might not be what they need. They might just
Mm-hmm.
need someone to ask them how their day was to, emotionally identify with them, or to draw things out of them mentally and emotionally when there's a tough place in the workout that someone else couldn't. There's just different layers to this, and ultimately it's how did you make that individual feel, and everything else is kind of a tool on that journey to how did you make them feel, how did you make them feel valued, and I think that's really important. That's and if you frame it that way, I think when people say I just want to work with pros, maybe they would think about it a little differently. It's so much. I like the quote. It's like you don't get what you want in life; you get who you are, and who you
Mm.
are kind of attracts you to some of those things. And so
Mm.
ultimately, if you want to work with those athletes, I think a lot of it's a journey into yourself. And I'll say the pros I've worked with, like I didn't. They work with me because they had to, basically. Like I was there, I was a strength coach. You have to work with me. Sorry. Like, and I mean, we had a great relationship, the pros and I. We did, but it wasn't like I'm not like I'm not like I don't have like my facility, and these pros are like drawn to my facility. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that situation, so I can't. I'd say these are the things that I'm working on that I've seen in my relationship with these types of athletes that I think is really important. That is, as I try to grow myself as a coach, that I think is more and more valuable that people don't talk about enough.
Mm. Yeah, man, you made a really good point there about the coach-athlete relationship, and we'll come back to this in a moment, but you just reminded me of, when I did fly to Russia and train Peter Yan for his fight camp to fight against Aljamain Sterling for the UFC bantamweight title. Aljamain pulled out of that fight. Corey Sandhagen stepped in. I went to Dubai with the guys. They all spoke Russian, man. I was in Russia with a Russian team. I was the only one that spoke English, so that was challenging to be able to communicate with them. But that was a relationship that we'd built over, 3.5 years of working together since my guy signed a contract with the UFC and made his debut. So he flew me to Russia. I went over to Dubai with them. A week before the fight, his manager flew over, who I also work with at Tiger Muay Thai, a Kazakh guy who speaks 5 languages. One of my friends called me on the phone and was like, hey, whereabouts are you sitting in the crowd? And I'm like, I don't know. So I talked to his manager and I said, hey, Sayat, where am I sitting? And he goes, dude, you're in the corner. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, you're in the corner. I'm like, what the fuck am I in the corner for? Like, he's got these other guys, these training partners, his other coaches that, you know, in my mind should be in the corner because they're going to contribute more. So I'm like, why am I in the corner? He goes, he just wants you in the corner because he, you know, he wants your presence, you know. And like, I went and spoke to him and I was like, what's the deal? What do you want me to do? And my guy just goes, coach, you control situation. That's it. I don't need you to do anything. And his manager said, he just wants you in the corner because of your presence, man. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to do anything. He just wants you there. So, you know, I think that's a great point that you made about the coach-athlete relationship.